Good evening. Thank you for joining us this evening for tonight's Village of Alsip board meeting. Today is March 5th, 2018. We'll call this meeting to order at 7:30. Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Yes. Trustee McGreal?
Here.
Trustee Dalzell?
Here.
Trustee Pierce?
Here.
Trustee Zielinski?
Here.
Trustee Juarez?
Here.
Trustee McLaughlin?
Here.
Mayor Ryan?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Great. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Very good. So we'll have officers' reports, starting with myself. Trustees, just a quick reminder, this coming Saturday, March 10th, the Southwest Conference of Mayors has a local government expo over at the Belvedere Chateau. That's at 103rd and Roberts Road. Registration, there's no charge for elected officials. Registration starts at 8:30 in the morning. Breakfast is at 9. They have a program at 9:30, and the expo starts at 10:30. Anyone wishing to participate in this, I will send an extra. I believe everyone's been getting this through their emails. If you haven't, I'll make sure you do get a copy by tomorrow morning. And if you're interested, please join us that morning. Next on my list, the first order of business on the agenda is a request for a motion to adopt the recommended decision of the village's PSEBA hearing officer and grant Emmanuel Gonzalez's application for PSEBA benefits retroactive back to April 11th, 2017. For those of you in the public interested in what this is, PSEBA is actually a Public Safety Employee Benefit Act that requires that a municipality provide fully paid lifetime health insurance coverage to any police officer or firefighter suffering a catastrophic injury in the line of duty. The PSEBA not only requires fully paid coverage for the injured employee, but also for the injured employee's spouse and dependents. Under the case law interpreting PSEBA, the award of a line of duty disability pension establishes the requirement that the injured employee suffered a catastrophic injury under PSEBA. In addition to suffering a catastrophic injury, PSEBA requires that the catastrophic injury occur in response to a fresh pursuit, in response to an unlawful act, or during the investigation of a criminal act. Also in response to what is reasonably believed to be an emergency. So, Section 2-330 of the Village Code provides that an administrative hearing be held upon filing of an application, which was done. The evidentiary hearing is held before the village's PSEBA hearing officer, which we did a couple months ago. After hearing the evidence, the hearing officer issues a recommendation on whether the application for benefits should be granted or denied, and the village board votes to either adopt or reject the hearing officer's recommendation. The village board makes the final determination on whether the application for PSEBA benefits is granted or denied. So, in this case, we had a patrolman that was injured in a line of duty. He was awarded a line of duty disability pension on April 11, 2017. He applied for the PSEBA benefit on or about September 19, 2017. An administrative hearing was held, and on December 19, 2017, the village's PSEBA hearing officer, Arthur Genera, presided over the administrative hearing. Both the officer and the village offered witness testimony and otherwise entered evidence into the record regarding the pending application for PSEBA benefits. Our village attorney obviously was present, and he attached the, this is an email that he had sent to everybody, but he attached the judge's recommendation decision, and he did recommend that the application for benefits be granted and that the officer be awarded the placebo benefits retroactive to April 11, 2017. So what I did, trustees, everyone had this in their mailbox today. I actually put together a small package based on case law from even just a few weeks ago. Like there was a case in the city of Des Plaines. They had a similar case that was awarded to an officer. And I also put in your box the opinion of the Illinois Municipal League as well then too. So certainly, again, what I've got on the agenda here is it's still the board decision. If the board decides that they wish to appeal this action, or if you'd like to call for an executive session to discuss this further, you're certainly welcome to do so. Otherwise, should we leave it on? We can vote on that this evening for approval, and certainly it is what it is. It's approved. Okay. We didn't have a committee meeting last week, so certainly if anyone has any questions, we can do that in executive session if you wish. Anybody who wishes executive session, please let me know by the end of the meeting, and we'll call for that. Okay. Next, number 2, I had a discussion. A discussion and request approval for the village attorney to draft an ordinance to have the Village of Alsip vacate 129th Street between Colon Avenue and Costner Avenue as agreed to by the village in a 1994 agreement. Apparently just recently, the owners of the properties over in that location contacted our village attorney and reminded him of this agreement, and certainly none of us were part of this board back in 94, but there was some construction that took place back in the day. All that's been completed, and certainly they just want to have us honor the agreement that was done back then. So that's why this is on here, is just to ask for approval to have our village attorney draft this ordinance for us to approve at a later date. Next on here, number 3, was a discussion and request for approval for insurance companies to offer competitive pricing for workman's compensation, property, casualty, and liability insurance prior to our renewal April 1st, 2018 deadline.
May 1st.
I'm sorry, May 1st. I apologize. Number 4 on the list was a discussion regarding a request for the village to allow a developer to build 9 new homes at 120th and Hamlin. The village would assume typical oversight, but to ask that the village assume costs for engineering of the water and sewer, because those have to be submitted to MWRD and so forth, as well as soil samples and other tests. I had spoke with Dan Triben with the water department, and Dan had this, we talked this to be approximately $75,000 in cost, and that can be, we can actually draw from the water fund if the board agrees to do this action. The village engineer isn't here this evening, otherwise I'd have him speak to it as well too, but I can always get confirmation from him as well on that then too.
Why would we do this?
They're just looking for some village participation to build the 9 homes, because what's going to happen here, this particular parcel of land had it, Roger, do you remember the term for it back in 2007, what that property was called?
Right now, there's just a walking path, and then Public Works is cutting the grass between 120th and Hamlin and 120th and Avers. What they're looking at doing is, or what we proposed was, they put in a street so that it's a through street with a water main that is, I apologize, that's looped. That's why we're asking, and that's one of the reasons why they're asking for a little bit of assistance from us. They're looking at putting 9 houses on that property. As it sits now, there's 1 house and a bunch of vacant land.
I've met with the developer and more so the realtor. He's been working with us for probably the last 9 months. And should anyone wish to see the kind of homes that the developer, he's actually from Oak Lawn, he wants to build 9 homes. I've got some pictures of some homes he did recently in Chicago Ridge. These are going to be 1,700 square foot homes. They're reasonably priced. I did look them up online. These were priced pretty well. And that, as Roger said, right now there's no street exists. There's a half a street in that neighborhood. So this way we can have the street go through. And there is some considerable cost. Actually, we did a rough estimate just to put a street in, and with the sewers and the water lines and all that, That's almost $750,000 expense, just to do that much construction. And he's looking out for us to pick up like roughly $75,000 worth of that work, just as our participation end of things. To get
Mayor,
that done.
I've only been on the board for a year, but I did spend considerable amount of time on school board. Aren't these typically taken care of by impact fees for a development? Why would the village take on this?
It was a request for the
Right?
village
I mean, it's impact
participation
fees
side
take
of it.
care of it.
Yeah, exactly. And generally for projects, they build that. You're $75,000, you're talking $8,000 additional cost for each of those residences.
Right. Again, you're trying to keep these homes affordable. I know $8,000 may not seem like a lot of money, but I guess it was just in the interest of keeping these houses affordable and having us assume, I mean, obviously, we can't afford to do an entire street from it. And as far as and certainly we're not making any money off this. We're going to have 9 homes generating property taxes and obviously bring 9 new families to the village possibly, so that was the consideration, was roughly $75,000. And really what they're looking for us, we're going to have typical oversight as we would in any project, but with some of the work with the engineering for water and sewer, obviously we're a lot more familiar than they are with this kind of thing, which keeps their costs, which will keep the cost down on this project a little bit then too, because of our oversight involved.
Has this gone through planning and zoning yet?
No.
Is this my concern with?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes it has. Well, I apologize. This has already been approved back in 2007 to actually create the subdivision. It was never recorded, and trustee Vince Kankar confirmed that for us.
Trustee?
I'm sorry, attorney. I know, another promotion. I know. I'm looking at the trustees here. Yeah, no, attorney Vince Kankar investigated this along with the building commissioner Roger Early, and in 2007, this was a planned. This was proposed. The village did approve it through planning and zoning, but it was never recorded. So it was just a matter of paperwork to have that done. We've got new people.
It was
there.
set up as a PUD?
I do not believe so. Is it a PUD, Raj?
I believe it was. I can go back and
I only saw the ordinance. I didn't see that end of it. Okay.
I'll go back and verify it.
Okay.
I don't think we're ready for this. I mean, I'm going to vote no, but I'd prefer to refer it back to committee.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We didn't have a committee last week, so that's why I'm bringing it back up now. I would have discussed it last week.
I'll refer it to committee.
But we can do that. They're trying to move on this as soon as they can, and certainly we're going to have a committee meeting before we have another board meeting anyway, so that's fine. Next on the list was a update. It was an update on the CERT, which is otherwise known as a Community Emergency Response Team program by DEP Director. It's our Director of Emergency Preparedness Director, Chuck Geraci. I have an overview from Mr. Geraci here in front of me. Give me 1 second. Last Monday, Director of Emergency Preparedness Chuck Geraci began the process of emailing information and attached documents pertaining to the the Community Emergency Response Team, otherwise known as CERT, and upcoming course. Also, the information and documents were posted on the opening page of the village website and on the Department of Emergency Preparedness website. Director Geraci has hard copies of the CERT brochure and documents in hand and is available this evening to answer any questions tonight, or you can email questions to him. Director Geraci will be posting copies of the brochure forms on the bulletin boards in the community as well. The brochure, along with the recruitment flyer, provides detailed information about this FEMA-sponsored volunteer program. CERT equips people of all ages and backgrounds to assist the community during both emergency and non-emergency events. Although CERT is open to the residents and non-residents alike, we want everyone that lives and works in the village to be aware of this program and the upcoming training opportunity. Anyone interested in becoming a member of CERT is encouraged to complete the application and contact Chuck Geraci as soon as possible. Like other communities across the nation that have established community emergency response teams, I believe the board and the community will be proud of this emergency preparedness program. Again, please contact Director Geraci directly if you have any questions in relation to this volunteer program. And certainly I want to thank everyone for your help and support of the Department of Emergency Preparedness. The Chuck is here tonight. Chuck, did you want to pass out anything? We got brochures.
Give the board. Just, I know you got everything on the website, but it's nice to see the actual brochure, which if anybody has questions, it really answers everything.
Thank you, sir.
Tells you everything about what it is and what it is not. Just come out and speak to the mic here so everybody. Am I on?
Yes.
I would just add to what the mayor just said, that no experience is needed, and the training is free of charge, so the public's aware of that. Please take, as I just said, the time to read the brochure. It does an excellent job of explaining everything that CERT is about. This program has been around. It's sponsored and promoted by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, especially in recent years. It's been around for quite a while, but with the different disasters and active shooter events and, of course, some of the issues that we face. But I want to reiterate what the mayor just said, too. It's not just about the emergencies. It's also having the community involved with volunteer types of events as well, non-emergency type events. And we provide all of the training. There's medical-related training. The idea behind it is, should there be some sort of a situation or emergency, as you see on the news, where police and fire happen to be delayed, you have the ability as residents and others, whoever's involved in the town, to be able to do certain things, and whether that be bleeding control, or whether that would be triage and treatment, whether it would be assisting with traffic control, whatever it is we determine in the town to be able to train you. We're not trying to make you police or firemen, but many times when those instances happen, it's people taking care of others, their family and their neighbors and themselves, and that's basically what it's about. I encourage anyone interested in becoming a CERT member to get the information back to me as soon as possible. There's going to be a maximum of how many students will be in this course. It's coming up in May. I also encourage you to go to the website, because it's all on the website right now on the very front page, and also it's under the Department of Emergency Preparedness webpage, as the mayor said. And again, I'll be here to answer questions after the meeting or now, if the board has any questions, but I've been pumping stuff out to you on a fairly regular basis. If you happen to have any questions, I'll answer those now. If the public has any questions, I'll be here at the end of the meeting as well. Questions for me, Mayor, right now?
Not at this time, Chuck. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank
and
you.
Hopefully everyone takes an opportunity to participate in the CERT program. And the last on my agenda here was a discussion and a request for approval to create a liquor license for a new business to be built at 11906 South Cicero, pending the rezoning and background checks. While I don't want to actually give the restaurant's name, it's a reputable restaurant from the area in another town, not Alsip, is wishing to develop a new restaurant at the corner of 119th and Cicero. That property is roughly 75 wide by 175 deep, and they want to build approximately a 2,400 square foot restaurant at that site with a drive-through. We believe on the surface that it's got sufficient parking for what it's going to need over there then too, but they do want to include a beer and liquor license. I spoke with the real estate agent, and he said basically that's the only thing he needs to know, if there's an opportunity to attain that, to complement the food that's going to go into this restaurant, that he can move forward with the sale of the property then too at the same time. So it is a reputable restaurant that would be going there, and they're asking for a beer and wine license, and all I'm asking the board is are they willing to create a license pending the rezoning and background checks? Because he's certainly going to go through all that, but if there's no end game at the end, the product that he needs to complete, you won't get a restaurant built there. So that's another consideration for tonight's agenda, consent agenda. That's all I have for my reports. Clerk's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Presentation and request for the approval of the FOIA report for January 2018. Also, presentation and request for the approval of the IDOT motor fuel tax allotment for January 2018 in the amount of $43,609.72. And then two things informationally. On the next committee meeting agenda, we will have 9 sets of minutes for review and approval. And for those of you who couldn't see all the wonderful signs that popped up out on the Parkway today, early voting has begun today at Village Hall. This week, Monday through Friday, it is from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. This Saturday, March 10th, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. This Sunday, March 11th, from 10 to 4. Next week, Monday, March 12th through Friday, March 16th, it is Monday through Friday, 9 to 7 p.m. Saturday, March 17th, Happy St. Patrick's Day, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Sunday, the 18th, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then the last day of early voting here at Village Hall is Monday, March 19th, again from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. That is all I have, Mayor Ryan.
Great, thank you. Attorney's report, we have Mike Hankar with us tonight.
No report, sir.
All right, thank you. Engineer's report, he's not available this evening. Public forum, would anyone in the public wish to address the board on anything related to our agenda this evening? No one? Thank you. Standing committee reports. Finance Committee, Trustee McLaughlin.
First, I have a request for approval of a list of payroll dated March 2nd, 2018, totaling $399,962.32. Next, I have a request for approval of accounts payable dated March 5th, 2018. From the recap, General Fund, $745,580.89. Road and Bridge, $47,660.93. MFT, $32,185.31. 911, $4,780.49. Pulaski Road Corridor TIF, $7,500.73. Water and Sewer, $274,472.73. And Heritage 2, $24,542.61, for a grand total of all funds of $1,136,723.69. Also, have a reminder that the budget hearing for the board process starts tomorrow. We have a meeting scheduled at 6:30. It is listed as a Finance Committee meeting, but everyone is welcome to come and listen in. And then, Kent, a question for you, because the next date you had on the schedule was Thursday. I know I'm not available Thursday, but I don't know if the rest of the board wants to meet on Thursday for the next round, so that I can get that agenda published, or...
And we can do it either one or two ways. We can do it as a committee of the whole, as you know, or under finance, or we can do it as a finance committee meeting, either way.
Did you post that meeting yet?
For Thursday?
For
No.
tomorrow,
For tomorrow, yes.
It's posted as a Finance Committee meeting.
Okay.
But I said before I schedule it for Thursday, I said, I know I'm not available on Thursday, but I didn't know if the rest of the board wanted to go ahead and meet.
I'm here.
You know what, we'll bring it back up at the end of the meeting just to confirm. Unless you want to just get a show of hands, who's everyone available Thursday? Not?
Not.
Okay. Mike? Yes. I'm available.
Okay.
Okay, so it looks like we've got at least 4 to 5 people here.
Okay, so then I'll go ahead and get that into the clerk's office tomorrow.
Okay.
Question to the finance director. On page 46, there's energy costs and ComEd associated with motor fuel tax.
Hold on just a sec. After the accounts pay 46, I'm on 27. Give me a sec. Okay. Motor fuel tax. And your question was?
ComEd and Constellation New Energy.
It's a good question. Very good question.
You'll figure out what goes.
I will, even if you guys have two ways to deal with that, you can approve the as done, and I will tell you that if we have a check for that, it won't go out until it's corrected to the correct account.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Moving along, next committee report, Fire Committee, Trustee McLaurin.
All right, the fire chief is requesting approval to purchase 12 Caltron radio boxes in the amount of $16,692.
Did we ever come up with a consensus of what we were going to do with this program?
No, we didn't.
Because there's 5 remaining based upon what's being told, and 2 are required, which still gives us a shelf stock of 3. So, I mean, I'd just like to find out if we're going to continue with the program. If so, then fine. If not, then I don't know what we're going to do with additional shelf stock.
We are currently out of stock. They actually took the last box that I had in our office that came out of one of the old Lombard buildings.
All right, I'm sorry. The letter that was distributed was...
Yeah, that was a couple months ago. We've used all of them up already.
Okay.
When we changed our ordinance where other companies can no longer auto-renew their contracts, we're going through them a lot more than we ever have before.
So how many do you go through in a year, roughly?
I believe we usually order 2 sets every 6 months or so. It varies by how many new business move in or how many actually are at the end of their contract. But they take about 6 weeks to build and get them in. At one time we used to order 6 at a time. We were just going through them so often. So the last couple of years since we changed the ordinance, we've been ordering 12 at a time. If we want to reduce the number, for now, I mean, that's fine too. That's up to you.
Well, is it since there's no break in the pricing?
Yeah, there's no break in the pricing. It's just a matter of, the other thing too is we have to put down 50% when we order them because of how long it took to pay our pills. They're on the hook for those through cross points. So they sit on that, they're owed that money to the manufacturer also. So we have to put down 50% down also.
I mean, at this time, my personal thought is to just go ahead with 6 for now. But I don't know if anybody else...
That's fine. Until we find out what we're doing, that's fine. I have no objections to that.
Okay. That's all I have under fire.
Okay, thank you. The police report, Trustee McGrail.
Mayor, if I could ask you and the clerk, could I present my insurance committee report before police because of the length of the schedule tonight? Go out of order. It's short.
Sure. I mean, both have to get done anyway, though, right?
I just know that we're going to have a presentation next, and it might be lengthy.
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. For the insurance committee, I have Les Peach here from Horton with the impending renewal date coming up for May 1st of 18. I had asked Horton if they would come and just give us an update of the status of where we are with it, with renewals. So Les, could you come up and just give the board an update of where we are with the
No,
pending?
that's fine. Yeah, Kent's been really great. We've got a lot of the data already in, and we're expecting the workers' compensation portion to be available in early April, I think is what they're telling us. And they, they just started working on these in the last couple of weeks, and it takes them about 3 to 4 weeks to get them all together. So we'll have that. The property casualty should be ready also by the end of this month. But Sheila had called me up about the workers' compensation, and John, I just wanted to comment. The IPRF requires a 90-day notice in order to go out in order to leave them, and when I called them the other day, that 90-day notice hadn't been complied with, and I understand that you're going out for bids on the other lines, but the workers' compensation at this point, we're within 60 days of that renewal. So it would be that rule has been in place with them for forever, practically. I mean, since they've been in existence. So I wanted to bring that up. What I tell people when they're going out for quotes on the work comp, the first question I ask, and these are my clients, have you applied for your grant yet? If you have, great. Have you received the money yet? And if those two are yes, then we can say, okay, let's get the letter written to get into IPRF. And as of right now, I mean, you haven't applied for your grant yet either, which is it's over $38,000. So, you know, I help my clients with this process. You know, you and I talked briefly before the meeting today. I get it. You know, my clients, everybody goes out for bids once in a while. And what I do is I want to we don't hide it. We don't hide from those at all because public entities, this is public money. You know, you got to do your due diligence on this. So I make sure it's done right. It's like, you know, Paul Hertzman over there, right, at Lockport. He called me last Tuesday. His renewal's July. I was there on Thursday. Went through the whole process. He's got his grant money. I offered to write the letter even because I want to make sure it's done right. And so I understand, you know, how to do this process. We just have to do it right. Otherwise, IPRF won't recognize it.
So it's just to, you know, I remember I was going to do this last season. So we're not saying we're canceling with IPRF, are we? How do we know that we're canceling? Who said that?
No, it's the notice is intent to go out for bids.
Okay, so they like 90 days notice
Right.
that we're going to shop their insurance.
This is actually pretty typical. Their rules are actually more lenient than most of the other pools in Illinois. I mean, a lot of them require 120 or 150 days. There was some of them used to require a 1-year notice, and it was about a year and a half ago. Yeah, a million. I know. It was about a year and a half ago that the state law on that changed to where it was a 150-day notice because, you know, 1 year is just too much for the municipalities.
If somebody wants to shop the insurance, they would have to give a 150-day notice.
Yeah, well, IPRF is only 90.
Right.
It's 150 or whatever, or it could be less if the pool requires that.
So I'll certainly investigate this tomorrow, you know, and I know I've given advance notice in the past. But what about the grant that you just mentioned, too?
Well, the grant is announced early on in the year, and it's you can apply for it online. You know, those radios you're talking about, I think, actually qualify for that. But it's been the process in the past. It's changed the last couple of years, but it used to be departments would put in the request, and then the safety committee would, you know, decide how they're going to spend that money.
Okay.
So, but I know the process has changed, and I haven't been as involved in it the last 2 years.
We handle that internally. We have. And part of that, we already know internally where it's going. It's going to finish those locks out it was used for last year, and the others, the process has already started internally. So that's not an issue.
Okay.
Is there any other concerns that the board would have if we didn't comply with the 90 days?
Actually, I just wanted, we're preparing all this. I mean, do you want me to come before a board to do this? Do you want me to meet with the insurance committee next time? I mean, how do you want to handle the renewal this year?
Well, I would think if you're renewing if you want us to renew a policy with you, I would think you'd be preparing something, wouldn't you?
No, what I meant is in terms of timeline. I mean, dates. I mean, do you want me to do it here at a committee?
I can have Human Resource check in with you, sure.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious.
That would be at a committee meeting, insurance committee meeting.
Okay. Good. Is there any other questions?
So our next committee meeting's next Monday night. Can we do this next Monday?
Next Monday?
I have some stuff already prepared for that. I was just going to go over some of the things that are being offered. Now, I won't have the actual quotes in at that time. The work comp is not going to be available probably till early April, but I have an indication where the rest of the stuff is going. Okay. That's at 6:30.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Will the insurance committee members, Trustee Pierce and Trustee McLaughlin, be available for a 6:30 insurance meeting? I mean, it's a committee meeting week, so we don't have to do that. I know they've done it for other committees. We'll just do it at the regular committee meeting, at the Board of the Whole.
If there's a lot to go over, perhaps we should do it at 6:30. Or, I mean, I don't want to see a committee meeting go to midnight. You know.
We could do it at 6:30, and then you could, stay if there's questions.
11 o'clock is okay?
10:45.
Again, the meeting, I'm not going to have the...
You won't have all of it, but other stuff, too, other updates from the insurance.
Yeah, we're going to have other stuff in terms of the services that are available and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I usually have a 15-minute version. I have an hour-and-a-half version, so I always let you guys decide which one you want.
I like the hour-and-a-half version.
You want the long one, Mike?
I like the info.
Well, do you think we would need more time or less time next week?
Actually, here's where we're at. We're going to get the primary quotes in probably about Thursday. And then what we do is you have an umbrella policy for liability, and I send that to the markets, and we get those quotes back, and that normally takes about another week. So I doubt if I'm going to have everything done by next Monday. I'm not going to have anything formalized to give to you. I can give you a verbal update at that time, but nothing. And I've got the services that we're going to be provided, but nothing. I'm not going to have a final number for you, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. We should probably wait 2 weeks until you have everything that you want to present to us.
That's fine.
Well, it would be 3 weeks for a committee meeting.
Even better.
Okay. Would that be in time enough?
Sure. What time? When is the meeting?
What date would that be?
March 26th would be the next committee meeting.
Oh, that's plenty. That's plenty of time. Yeah.
And then would you like to do an insurance committee meeting on that time at 6:30?
Yes, please.
And you'll follow up with an email, Trustee
will.
McGraw? Thank you.
Okay. So you don't want me here next week then? Next
No,
month?
that's okay.
Okay.
But is there anything else we need to know about, like, is there any repercussions to the village if we do anything different to go out for other quotes because we're under that 90-day?
No, that's well. Again, there's the work comp, which has that requirement
work comp,
that we talked
yeah.
about, but then the package doesn't have that requirement.
Right.
Okay.
Isn't that kind of a catch-22? You have to give 90 days in order to say that you're going to go out for it. The numbers aren't going to be available until the end of April, and the policy is due May 1.
Thank you. I was thinking the exact same thing.
Well, all I can say is, pools have operated this way in Illinois since the beginning of, since they've, Irma used to require a 1-year notice to get out, and it was the same argument in terms of, well, here we are, we're, a year away, we don't even know what the renewal is going to be, and you're requiring us to stay. Others have been 150 days. IPRF has been on the lenient end in terms of 90 days.
Okay.
Now, if there's a formal bid and you want to do this and you want to get numbers in January, we can certainly do that. But then everyone's going to have to come in with their numbers in January.
Well, last year, and that's the only reason I brought this to everyone's attention, is that last year we shopped, and you had another vendor in, another insurance company that offered some good pricing to work, offer the board some good numbers. Competitive numbers is what I want to say. And obviously it went right down the wire where we approved it April 29th with a May 1st deadline. As the trustee just pointed out, here I only have 60 days to give notice, so I'm 30 days behind my mark point just to serve one company notice that I want to compare pricing, but yet your company can't give us pricing until almost the deadline anyway. It's like you just said, you're not going to have numbers. You just said that you wouldn't have numbers till mid-April or so.
Well, if we start the process earlier, we can get them here earlier.
Well, why wouldn't you start that process anyway, is my question.
Because we didn't ask for it. We have
It's a renewal. So, devil's advocate, so you're just going to tell me I'm going to pay that rate regardless, or whatever that rate happens to be, because, like you said, Les, you're going to hand this to us a couple weeks before it's up for renewal. Or at least I was trying to be a little bit proactive here to say that I'd like to see the village save some money on this thing and just get a competitive price and see if it is worthy or not. But because of something that IPRF wants on a 90-day notification on their end, I might have an issue with them. I'll look into that tomorrow and so forth then too. They can't tell me I can't shop it. I'll have to deal with whatever the penalty could be in that case. Being it's not the end of the world, but I'm saying your presentation, you're telling us that we're going to renew just whatever you give us. We're going to be renewing.
But if we lose the grant also, that's a big deal. $38,000 is a huge deal. So you're talking about the grant, any penalties associated with it. It's like car insurance or home insurance. You get the renewal a couple of weeks before. If you don't go out, if you don't ask for it early, it just kind of evergreen. It just kind of rolls and you get it in the mail. So why didn't we think of this a couple of months ago?
That's what I asked about just now.
But no, I'm saying why didn't we? This is our broker, right? So why didn't we ask him for this 2 months ago, or in January, or in December? Why? Why 2 months before it's due? I'm playing devil's advocate here, too. So I want to save the village money, but I also don't want to cost us a $38,000 grant or any penalties associated with timing.
Have we been presented the information to apply for this grant?
Yes.
We have.
Yeah, but I don't know what the deadline for the grant is, but it's usually, if I remember correctly, this grant is actually based on the prior year and the savings from the prior year. So,
which you can't do anyway, then, trustee.
And Les can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we could apply for this grant tomorrow, and it would have nothing to do with the policy year starting May 1st. Am I correct on that?
Right.
Well, yes, because you didn't give notice. How it works is
let's say we had given notice. Would there be
you're no longer a member in good standings and you don't qualify for grant money.
But the grant money is based on the prior year, isn't it?
True, but that's why I said
it's based
when
on
people
the
want to go out
savings.
for bids, I say, have you applied for your grant? 2, have you received your grant? If you want to apply for your grant, you want to receive your grant, and then turn in your notice for the 90 days, and you're good. You're good. I guess I educate all my clients on here's how to do it right, so you still get your money. And I mean, I've done this with a lot of my clients.
So, Les, I got to ask. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. If let's say we had given 90 days. We're not saying 90 days to cancel. We're saying 90 days to go out to bid.
Right.
And IPRF could have been one of those companies that wins the bid, right? Or a pool that wins the bid against other companies. We'd still be in good standing after having given the 90 days. Am I correct?
Because you won the bid. You said they won the bid.
No, not during the time when you've
No.
given 90 days, but you haven't won any bid. You're not in bad standing. It's still your insurance pool. It might still be your insurance pool after bids come in.
If you give your notice, you're not in good standing with IPRF, and they don't.
So
they don't
if
issue
you
grant
give a
money.
notice that you want to compare price, it automatically puts you in bad and not in good standing.
It puts the grant money in, and you're not in good standing on the grant money. You still get all your services. You still get all the services, but that part doesn't move forward until we find out if they're going to renew it or not.
So
You're driving a Chevy,
yeah.
and then you want to buy a Ford, and then you find out when you go to trade it in that you didn't give them 90 days notice, and you're still driving your Ford.
Chevy.
Or that.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get your buyer's rebate.
Right. This is exactly what I'm saying. I mean, so I could have did this 3 months ago, and I'd be in the same situation.
If we hadn't applied for the grant already.
Right.
Yeah, you could have applied for the grant, got the money, gave the notice, and
So
and then-
don't shop our insurance, and we'll give you. We'll try and help you get a $38,000 grant. There's no guarantee on that.
No, we get it. It's whatever's left over.
Okay.
The grant also begins January of every year, and it lasts till the end of the year, till December.
So you have 1 month to apparently apply for the grant and hopefully receive
Are you
it.
sure about that? How do you know that, but he doesn't know that?
No, we do get it around.
We deal with it every
We get
year.
the notification right around the beginning of the year. We do.
it comes out.
Then
That's
we-
the grant money.
We have until
The-
December
yeah.
to use it up.
The notification comes out in November, and you can apply on the computer. Typically, on the internet first, usually sometime the first week in January.
We are so ill prepared for this. I mean, we just got to take a step back. This just feels so rushed and.
Well, like you said, this is basically, call it what you like. You can call it a grant. This is a rebate to renew your policy with IPRF, correct?
No,
What is
no,
it?
it's a grant. It's a grant. It's not a rebate. It's a grant.
But if I shop their insurance, if I want to save the village any money, I don't get the grant.
They do all the time.
Even though they could win the grant.
No, John, it's not
Even
true.
though they could win the policy back.
No, that's
rather.
not true, John. I mean, I help all my clients go through this whole process. I say, apply for the grant, get the money, give your notice. So you got your money, and you go out for bids. I don't see where the problem is.
So what happened last year when we went out for competitive bidding last year? Did we get the grant?
Yeah.
Even though we
So you
signed it?
didn't bid the work
Go out
comp
for
last year.
we didn't go out for competitive bidding.
Yeah, we did last year.
Well, only on the
board
package, not on the
didn't.
work comp.
We didn't shop the work comp.
No.
Put something on our calendar for January.
And which is why we extended to May 1st, because we were trying to get a better rate for this kind of thing.
It's already on my calendar.
We'll be more timely, that's all.
Does anyone have any more questions?
Yeah, we weren't,
I would like to refer it to Insurance Committee.
the majority of this board wasn't here the last time this happened, and I'm not on the insurance committee. But how many, if it did go out to bid last time before we were here, how many insurance companies presented?
One insurance company did.
But we didn't put it out to bid. But one came and gave a presentation besides Horton. But the board did not put it out to bid.
I don't see why it would be a bid process when we should decide which one's better for the money regardless of
How do you get the
cost
idea
of
for the money?
presentations.
You can deny any bid. You don't have to take the lowest bid. I mean, you put it out to bid so that you get all comers.
But I'm sure there's more than one other insurance company out there.
There's not a lot.
There's not a lot.
There's not a lot. I mean, the municipalities that have police and fire exposure on the workers' comp, it dwindles pretty fast.
How long have you been with the village?
And for a
With
lot
our
of the
village.
reasons that John was talking about earlier with the benefits that are provided for the public service employees.
How long has Horton been with our village?
Well, my division was acquired by Horton in 2014. And prior to that, we were part of the Boyle Flag and Seaman, and that was probably back in the 60s. Yeah, 60s. And you were Alsip was one of the founding members of the Illinois Public Risk Fund, which is your work comp carrier. So, I mean, I do know for a fact that because of that very fact, you've received preferential treatment on your rates over the years, even the years where the claims were rather high.
And IPREF has been a great organization, and quite frankly, Horton's represented us well as well.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
sure. Okay. If there are any other questions, you know how to reach me. So,
Yes, we will.
Could you
Thank
sign
you.
in, please? Thank you.
Blitz report.
Police, did you say?
Please, yes.
I have a presentation regarding the red light camera enforcement by Safe Speed.
Is it possible to do this at the end of the meeting? I don't want to be rushed through this, and I'm just saying we've got a lot of.
For a vote, so.
No, understood. And I don't want to be rushed through this because I have a lot of questions, but we do have a lot of students in the audience, and I mean we could be here late tonight with this.
I've actually asked Safe Speed to compress their presentation down to about 15 minutes.
I'd rather not do that. Actually, I'd rather get all the information. I've got lots of questions, so it's your call, Mayor. But I'm just.
You know, what, Trustee, I appreciate the opinion, but I did ask, there's a couple of people here yet, too. Actually, we've got an engineer that wants to speak to the board and so forth then, too, about a few things. Go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry, let's.
If we do it at the end, then we could do just what you wanted. We could let the village attorney leave, because I'm sure that Mike, although he's really, really interested in this.
Because this would have been done at committee anyway. I mean, it just happened that we didn't have a quorum last Monday. So we would have done
That
that
would be
without the
fine.
attorney anyway. Right?
If it's okay to Safe Speed.
Chris, do you mind,
Is it okay?
do you mind waiting a little bit longer? All right, thank you very much, sir.
And then the second thing under police, I didn't put this on the agenda, so I don't know if the chief wants to speak to it, or the attorney, or the mayor.
You're up.
The agreement with the RCOs?
Oh, well, everyone got a copy of it, and to me, it's consistent with what we talked about and what was authorized.
And they're on board?
Yeah, well, they ratified it, I believe, Thursday night.
Okay.
That's it? Public Work and Boat Launch, Trustee Juarez?
No report.
Thank you. Building Committee, Trustee Zelinski?
Yes, number one, discussion and request for approval of a full waiver of fees except accept inspection fees for the Alsip Park District for the renovations to take place at Apollo Park at 12521 South Costner Avenue. Now, I know when our past practice has been 50%.
That's our ordinance.
That's our ordinance. I mean, so this would have to be amended in the consent agenda then?
No, as long
No?
as you vote on it.
Because you've got it written down here that you're asking for a full waiver.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was something that the board would be in agreement on.
That's why it's on there.
Okay.
All right.
We'll come back to it then. Also, a presentation by CM Lavoie Engineering regarding the expansion of shipping and receiving for Alsip-based business Greif Inc. at 4300 West 130th Street to develop 5 acres of property owned by Greif Inc. That's all I have.
Chris is here from CM Lavoie. Chris, we were on, you were on the agenda last week. We didn't have a committee meeting. You want to distribute those, please? What your plan is?
Thank you.
Thank you. No.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, Chris. You want? This is Chris Lavoie. Chris, you want to give us an overview?
Yes, I'll be quick. I know you're very long tonight. Chris Lavoie from CM Lavoie and Associates. I'm chief engineer and owner of the engineering company. We were retained by Greif to take a look at their expansion here in town. They're in dire need of expansion of their logistical operations, and they had us look at their park, the wooded area on the south side of their facility. We came up with plans. The plans, of course, had to include all the ordinance requirements, including hard surface, including curb and gutter, lighting. There's some utilities for fire that we have to take care of, stormwater through MWRD. And we went ahead and did those plans up, and I delivered those plans to corporate headquarters over in Maryland. And when I delivered them, I had to do a cost estimate to show them what the cost of the improvements were. And they just didn't have enough money in the budget to do it, but they really need the facility now. So they came back to me and asked me, well, you know, put your thinking cap on and see what you can do, because we need to do something. And they looked at the number and they said, we just cannot spend $1.6 million there now. So what they did is they came up with a number, and I'm going to back in that number to see what we can do. They allocated $650,000 this year to start as soon as possible on a facility. So what I did is I thought about it, and I said, what can I do to get this to work to maximize the potential here for Greif, and to see what I can do with all of you. And what we came up with is a request to not do the project in 2 phases. One phase would be this year, next phase would be next year. And what we like to do is defer the cost of doing the hard surface from this year's program into next year's program. We would meet all the other ordinance requirements. We would do the stormwater now. It would be a dry bottom now in phase 1, and a wet and an underground storage for phase 2. That would happen next year. And that gets them a gravel parking lot, and it gets them what they need for this year, and then we would come back and do phase 2 next year. The exhibits show kind of phase 1, phase 2. It's 110 or 111 space lot. We're working through MWRD now, and I'm here to request a deviation from your code for the hard surface. It's about $5 to $6 a foot to do that. It's a pretty big space, and that equates to over half of what the cost would be. So they had that sticker shock. They're not saying they don't want to do it, but they said that, you know, we need to get this in our budget. They didn't expect this kind of number. So they asked me to come to you to request a variation of the code for the hard surface, and do the project in 2 phases, and the next fiscal year for them, they would allocate the remainder of the money. So I'm here to request that to you, and I like your assistance.
So basically, at this point, Board, what we'd be doing is just giving Chris a consensus at this point, because we don't have anything in as far as an agreement at this point, which we can have our village attorney draft, but this way, he's asking that he just, as he said, do the blacktop of the hard surface next year as opposed to this year. They want to get this moving sooner than later because their shipping and receiving has just gotten out of control. They have to expand their business. He wants to develop almost 5 acres. Greif, ladies and gentlemen, just so everybody knows where they're at, too. They're across the street from the flea market on the south side of town, and this 5 acres would go from their business all the way to the Cal-Sag Canal.
That's correct.
And he is going to obviously be in compliance. He had met with myself and Dan Tribe and the water commissioner the couple weeks ago, and obviously whatever is required, maybe additional fire hydrants and whatnot. Chris, we did confirm with the fire chief they do not do dry hydrants to pull water from the canal, so you are going to end up looping that water line in order to get your hydrants within 300 feet of each other and whatnot.
Understood.
So, okay.
No, we don't have any problem doing that. I have to actually back in the project now to their budget, so it would be a cost not to exceed. So what would suffer there is the amount of spaces that I could do and the hard surface. So I can't exceed that number, but the infrastructure and everything else that we need to satisfy permit requirements, including the expansion and the extension of water for fire protection, would be done.
So trustees, can I get a consensus then to have the attorney draft the correct paperwork to identify with what he's asking? Mike, did you have a question? I'm sorry.
How long exactly is it going to take before the ordinance or the code would be complete?
It would be next year. So
Next year,
the
what time?
springtime of next year is when Phase 2 would start.
Okay, because I believe we have another business that we've extended 9 months.
9 months, yep.
So
Correct.
I don't know
Same
how long we want
situation.
to.
And the other business, while we appreciate all the businesses that are in town, Greif has been with an Alsip how long? Chris, any idea? I'm not sure. Since the 70s.
Yeah, it's been a long
Certainly,
time.
as a courtady to on behalf of the village, I think it's right.
I understand. I'm just saying that we have.
Just to add to that, Trustee Zelinski, it's when you look at 9 months from now, where does that get you? That gets you during winter conditions.
winter,
So I can't really pave it or do anything with it, come December. So it's something just based on the calendar where we are, we're asking for the year. So I can start doing the project next March.
The hard top. You're going to start
Correct.
the other work now.
The
as
other
soon as
work would be
possible.
now, as soon as I can get it done.
Right. So do I have a consensus to have the attorney draft the paperwork to agree to that?
I'm okay.
You okay? Trustee Pierce?
Yes.
Trustee Juarez?
Yes.
Thank you. How about this side?
As long as we have the same implications that the other businesses had to get it complete, I mean, otherwise there has to be some kind of,
We'll have the attorney draft the correct paperwork that we can all agree upon.
and I can agree with that. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, trustees. I appreciate it. Chris, thanks for your time.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Would you sign in, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Actually, I've got his card. Since he's called him, that's his card right there.
I didn't see it.
Excuse me, Chris? Do you have a business card with you for the attorney, too, please? Thanks. Okay, trustee, anything else?
Are we going to discuss the park thing or just roll that into the consent?
I think it's already on the consent agenda.
I think trustee Dizelle is saying, should we discuss now before we go to consent?
If you like.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in favor of this all along. I don't understand why we charge a taxing entity fees outside of what our costs are, because it's still our people that pay for those fees for the park district. So if we were to receive X number of dollars in the park, that comes out of their capital finances, and then they have to either tax the people or charge more for the services, and it still affects our very same people. So I've never understood why we do 50%. Why wouldn't we just, it's taken out of the left pocket or right pocket, but it's our people's pocket.
Which is kind of why I told the trustee, Trustee Zelinski and I spoke last week, and which is why I told him just put it on the agenda to ask for exactly this, ask for a full waiver of fees.
I'm in agreement of it, but I'm thinking that maybe
Change the ordinance.
change the ordinance, right?
Oh, we can certainly broach
Say
that.
otherwise
It's
you're going to be
actually not-
asking this every time The
Is it-
library,
It's
school.
not an ordinance, it's part of an intergovernmental agreement that we have
Let me
with
say, and
them.
isn't the actual intergovernmental agreement in place with the Park District in regards to the land swap that took place over by Home Depot? Did
No.
we grant them 100%?
I don't know about that, but subsequent to that, you had an intergovernmental agreement with when Pulaski TIF was set up. And when Pulaski TIF was set up, 50% was in that intergovernmental agreement.
Well, I'm for the 100%, but I'd like to maybe, at some point in time with ordinance and legislation, bring this up and resolve it, so we don't have to continue to debate this matter.
You know, and certainly, whenever you like, next committee meeting, bring it up. Let's ask for the board to consider having the attorney draft, obviously, some type of resolution, because like you said, it's an intergovernmental agreement right now, right?
It is.
Okay.
I'll have them put on next,
I would think
on
so.
the next committee meeting.
Okay, to amend that, right.
Our costs will be covered.
Out of curiosity, what would the fees be?
10% of the cost of the project.
Okay.
I believe this is like $327,000.
So we'd be looking at
32,000.
32,000.
This is a
Seem unusually high for a new playground.
This is a question for the attorney. Am I correct that if there's an intergovernmental agreement that says 50% of the fees need to be paid, and the village board decides to make it a lower number, you don't have to do anything with the intergovernmental agreement, and no one's going to bother with it?
Well,
But you should have at least a resolution saying we'd like to go a further number than the intergovernmental agreement?
well, I'm sure the agreement says that it can only be amended in writing, so you probably have to do some sort of,
Even if you're charging them less for,
no one's going to complain about it as a practical matter. I mean, but you're asking me legally you should amend the agreement. But if no one's going to complain, then.
But it's not just two taxing bodies, it's many taxing bodies. That'd probably be a pretty complicated.
I have no idea what, okay.
It's not at 50% now. It's something they've always asked.
Any other questions?
Gave it to them at 50%.
No?
Was that 50? 50
All right, we'll move along then. The License Committee, Trustee Juarez.
School, that's okay.
I'm sorry.
License.
I have a request for approval of a list of license dated February 14th through the 23rd, 2018. That's all.
All right, thank you. Economic Development, Trustee Pierce.
Request for approval of ordinance of the Village of Alsip approving agreement between Village of Alsip and Hebrew Holdings Limited Liability Company for the redevelopment of property located at 11933 South Pulaski, Village of Alsip, County of Cook, State of Illinois, in furtherance of objectives of the redevelopment plan and project approved for the Pulaski Road Corridor TIF redevelopment project area. That's all, Mayor. That is health and wellness, everyone.
Right, this is the Health and Wellness building that we were identifying with. Planning and Zoning, Trustee Zelinski.
No report tonight.
Special Committee reports, Village Properties, Trustee McLaurin.
I have a request for approval to post in-house for 5 days to fill a vacant position for a cleaner at the Village Hall. If the position is not filled internally within the 5 days, it will be posted externally.
All right, thank you. Ordinance legislation, Trustee Pierce.
Discussion and request for approval of an ordinance of the Village of Alsip amending Chapter 19, Traffic and Motor Vehicles, Article 1 in general, Section 19-2, state law adopted of the Alsip Municipal Code.
Go ahead.
No discussion?
On that, Chief, are we going to tow impound vehicles for this still?
Yes, we are.
Okay. So, just so, we're comfortable with towing and impounding on a petty offense.
I'm comfortable with it.
All right. Bonding procedures, do we have bonding procedures for this?
We have,
Offense, so we're not going to be able to write a C bond anymore.
it'll just be given an ordinance, it'll be like a village ordinance violation in Bridgeview Courthouse.
Right.
Okay, do we want to make this a jailable offense?
Yeah. Yes, we
Well, it is a jailable offense now, but they're not going to prosecute it as such, so.
State's attorney refuses.
Okay. And you have a limit on it of $500?
Yes.
Correct.
And you wanted to charge as a Class A misdemeanor?
No. It's a Class A currently. It's going to be a petty offense.
Oh, so you're bringing it down, not bringing it up?
Well,
So we can prosecute it.
Well, yeah, I say we're taking it under our umbrella as opposed to leaving it with the state's attorney who's not doing
And what would the benefit be for this?
well, right now, nothing's happening to these individuals in court. So right now, they're encouraging us to handle it through our village attorney in basically ordinance court at Bridgeview.
Control.
With a maximum of a $500. What
Right.
if it goes over $500 to prosecute? Who's going to pay the difference?
Nobody. We are.
Well, we're going to have to foot the bill if we're going to start doing it ourselves, right?
Yes.
We're on retainer for that anyway. You know.
There's somebody in court. They'll be prosecuted with the speeders and everything else. You're not going to get $500. You get nothing of the fine money. Frankly, you probably make more money off the impoundment than you do off the fine.
I'd like to, again, we've got a lot of students that come to these meetings too, and again, you've got public watching on the videos that we promote here as well. Just to give everyone a quick overview of what we're talking about here. Regarding the amendment of Chapter 19, Traffic and Motor Vehicles, Article 1, an officer may issue a citation under any section of the Illinois Vehicle Code as an ordinance violation by so indicating on the uniform traffic citation. All citations issued as an ordinance violation shall be issued in the name of the village and referred to in the uniform traffic ticket or complaint as an ordinance violation. The purpose of the ordinance is to allow the village to prosecute what's known as 6-303 citations. And that's what that means is it's driving, let's say, for example, driving with a suspended license. On the minor traffic court call as an ordinance violation now instead. The Cook County State's Attorney's Office has recently chosen to dismiss most of its 6-303 citations on the major traffic court call. In light of this decision, one option that they recommended to all municipalities was to prosecute these as ordinance violations instead on the minor traffic call. However, the violation is usually a misdemeanor, and misdemeanors are only prosecuted on the major traffic call. So now what they want us to do is, by classifying these as petty offenses, when written as an ordinance violation, the village will be able to prosecute these in the minor traffic courtroom, meaning there will be at least some repercussions for individuals who are caught driving with a suspended license. In the event the state's attorney begins prosecuting these again, the police officers can resume writing them as regular traffic citations under the vehicle code, and they will once again be prosecuted as misdemeanors. So right now, these ordinance violations will be considered petty offenses as a Class A misdemeanor and shall be punishable by a fine in an amount not to exceed $500. So, as the chief just said, they're trying to not just make these a traffic ticket. Now they want to call it an ordinance violation as a petty offense, and obviously have us pursue issues that contain money because they're not getting it anyway in some cases, right, Chief?
Correct. The bottom line is we could keep doing it the way we're doing it, and they'll just keep dismissing the cases in which nothing happens to the person, or we can at least try and do something to hold them accountable.
Right.
You guys overtime to go to court.
Right.
Do we have any idea what it could cost the village?
Not really.
We're there in traffic court anyway.
They're
It
there
doesn't cost-
anyway
it's not gonna cost you
prosecuting
anything. It's just-
speeders and stop sign cases, so it's going to go in that same courtroom, and it takes 5-10 minutes to prosecute one of those.
So DUIs go to the other court?
That's criminal.
Right.
Correct.
That's a criminal, but
Be financial suspension.
we have attorneys down there on retainer, so it's the same fee regardless. So no, there's no extra cost, is the answer.
So
to that.
we don't exceed the retainer fee?
No, not unless there's a special
Promise.
case in some case, which this isn't. That's why they're calling it a petty offense.
Yeah. It's going to be on the traffic court call along with the speeders, disobeying a stop sign, whatever tickets they write. it's going to be on that traffic court call. We have an attorney from our office there for the entire call, whether it's 1 minute or whether it's 5 hours, and you pay the same thing.
So they'll be here instead? The attorney?
No, it'll still be at Bridgeview. It'll just be in a minor traffic room.
So nothing is changing with the way our attorney is there?
Well, it'll be our attorney prosecuting them as opposed to the state's attorney's office. So
We'll have more cases.
it'll be a punishable by fine only.
Yeah.
Of which you said they may not even pay or even show up to court.
Well,
No, what I said was that the way it is now, there's a formula for what you get on per ticket on a fine, and by the time on a $150 fine,
Through the county.
you may get about $10. You may get about $5-10 of that. The village does. So if you're looking to make money off, you wouldn't even have these guys write tickets if you're looking to make money. You're looking for deterrence and a safer roadway is what you're looking for. I mean, otherwise you shouldn't write tickets at all and just pull people over. I mean, I'm trying to be sarcastic, but that's what it comes down to. You don't get much of the fine money for a traffic ticket. There's no control over that.
So where would this fine money actually end up?
Well, it goes to the Illinois Police Training Standards Board. There's a bunch of people that take a pound of flesh out of it. It's all by statute. I mean, it's nothing that I can do or the chief can do or the village can do. And it's the same thing with all communities in Cook County.
Everybody good? All right. Trustee at number 2.
Discussion and request for approval of ordinance of the Village of Alsip, Cook County, Illinois, approving the reservation of volume cap in connection with private activity bond issues and related matters. This is the one that we have till May, right? This is the one that Joe said we had till May. And we did refer it to committee the last time, and we didn't get to have that committee meeting, so I'd like to refer this one back to committee.
All right. One second, just circling that real quick here.
P.
P's and Paul.
P as in Paul.
All right. All right, thank you. Moving along, the IT committee, Trustee Dalzell.
IT has no report, and sewer and water has no report.
I noticed that didn't even get on the agenda, apparently. Oh, no, I'm sorry, Rick, you're right. Thank you. HR, Trustee McGrill.
No report.
Health and Pollution, Trustee Pierce.
Presentation approval of the February 2018 Health and Pollution Activity Report. That's all, Mayor.
Traffic Safety, Trustee Dalzell.
No report also.
Any presentations, petitions, or communications? No one? Would anyone like to remove any items from the consent agenda?
I would like to remove letter C and refer it to the Insurance Committee.
C as in cat.
Yes.
P as in Paul.
And I would like to amend item I.
Item O.
The price.
Yeah, we're going to take 6.
And item D. I just had a question on.
Trustee, did you say item D?
I just have a quick question.
What's that?
You said beer and wine, so what is that one called? Because it says liquor license. What kind of license?
I'll double check. I'm going to say off the top of my head, I believe it's an E, but that'll, obviously when the time comes, you'll have it in front of you to approve, but it's just a beer and wine license is all that is.
Will this facility have gaming?
They may, down the road. It's up to the state. That's not on us. But we're just talking about a restaurant for them right now.
So So are we removing D, or did we just get a
No,
clarification?
that was just clarification is all, right? Okay, can I get a motion to establish the,
And on
Go ahead.
motion, or on item I,
Item I have it
apologize.
changed to approval to a purchase of quantity of 6, I believe is what you wanted to go through, Trustee
And
McGrill.
dollar amount is
McLaughlin,
8,000.
Keltron radio boxes for the amount of $8,346.00.
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor,
yeah,
can I remove D for a separate vote, please?
sure. All right, can I get a motion, please, to establish a consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call number 1 to establish the consent agenda. In summary, I'm just going to go back through this. We have removed letter C, like Charlie, to refer it to committee. Item D has been removed for a separate vote. Item I has been amended to read approval of purchase of a quantity of 6 Keltron radio boxes in the amount of $8,346.00. Item O has been removed, and item P has been removed to be referred to committee. Is that all the corrections?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Roll call number 1 to establish the consent agenda as presented. Trustee McGrill.
Yes.
Trustee Dalzell.
Yes.
Trustee Pierce.
Yes.
Trustee Zelinski.
Yes.
Trustee Juarez.
Yes.
Trustee McLaughlin.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, now I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Roll call number 2 to approve the consent agenda as presented, filling in some missing information. Letter G will read approval of a list of payroll dated March 2nd, 2018, totaling $399,962.32. Letter H is approval of a list of accounts payable dated March 5th, 2018, totaling $1,136,723.69. Letter M would now be known as ordinance number 2018-3-1. Roll call number 2 to approve the consent agenda as presented. Trustee McGrill.
Yes.
Trustee Dalzell.
Yes.
Trustee Pierce.
Yes.
Trustee Zelinski.
Yes.
Trustee Juarez.
Yes.
Trustee McLaughlin.
Yes.
Motion carries to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Return to the items that were pulled from the consent agenda. Trustee Juarez pulled letter C, wishes to refer to the insurance committee. Can we get a motion and a second for that, please?
Motion.
Second.
Roll call number 3 to refer letter C, approval of a request for insurance companies to offer competitive pricing for workmen's compensation, property, casualty, and liability insurance renewal prior to the May 1st, 18 deadline, referring to committee. Trustee McGrill.
Yes.
Trustee Dalzell.
Yes.
Trustee Pierce.
Yes.
Trustee Zelinski.
Yes.
Trustee Juarez.
Yes.
Trustee McLaughlin.
Yes.
Motion carries to refer to committee.
Very good. Letter D, approval to create a liquor license for a new business to be built at 11906 South Cicero Avenue, pending a rezoning and background check. Trustee Juarez, you pulled that for a separate vote?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Roll call number 5 for the approval to create a liquor license for a new business to be built at 11906 South Cicero Avenue, pending rezoning and background checks. Trustee McGrill.
Abstain.
Trustee Dalzell.
Yes.
Trustee Pierce.
Yes.
Trustee Zelinski.
Yes.
Trustee Juarez.
Yes.
Trustee McLaughlin.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-1.
Thank you. Next, we had letter O, approval of an ordinance of the Village of Alsip amending Chapter 19, Traffic and Motor Vehicles, Article 1 in general, Section 19-2, state law adopted of the Alsip Municipal Code. Trustee McGrill, you pulled that?
That's for a separate vote.
For a separate vote, can I get a motion and a second, please?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Roll call number 5, approval of an ordinance of the Village of Alsip amending Chapter 19, Traffic and Motor Vehicles, Article 1, in general, Section 19-2, state law adopted of the Alsip Municipal Code. Trustee McGrill.
No.
Trustee Dalzell.
Yes.
Trustee Pierce.
Abstain.
Trustee Zelinski.
No.
Trustee Juarez.
No.
Trustee McLaughlin.
Yes.
I have 3 noes,
It fails.
1 yes and
You
1
can-
abstain.
Well, the no go, the abstain goes with the majority.
Two
so-
yeses.
2 yeses.
The abstain goes with the majority, so you can't vote.
Right.
Motion fails.
Yeah.
And then the last one I had here is letter P, approval of an ordinance of the Village of Alsip, Cook County, Illinois, approving the reservation of a volume cap in connection with the private activity bond issues and related matters. Trustee Pierce, you wanted to refer that to committee?
Yes, move to refer that to Ordinance and Legislation Committee.
Okay, can I get a
Second.
motion and a second, please?
Second.
Motion to refer to committee approval of an ordinance of the Village of Alsip, Cook County, Illinois, approving the reservation of volume cap in connection with private activity bond issues and related matters, to refer to Ordinance and Legislation Committee. Roll call number 6, Trustee McGrill.
Yes.
Trustee Dalzell.
Yes.
Trustee Pierce.
Yes.
Trustee Zelinski.
Yes.
Trustee Juarez.
Yes.
Trustee McLaughlin.
Yes.
Motion carries to refer to Ordinance and Legislation Committee.
Thank you. Moving back to unfinished business, we had a presentation. Trustee McGrill.
I'm sorry. The safe speed.
Yes.
Thank you for your patience.
Are we going to let the kids out? Move to recess for 5 minutes.
Hold on. Hold on 1 second, gentlemen.
To let the students out.
Pardon me?
To let the students go.
You know what, we can do that. It just take 5 minutes. I know a lot of times with the students that are in the room, you'd like to have your agendas signed off on for proof that you attended tonight's meeting. You're certainly welcome to stay for a presentation on red light cameras. Otherwise, if you think you need to leave, please come forward now. We can sign off on those for you real quick. We can finish our meeting.
My daughter's in the audience. She's coming forward.
All right, then we're going to take just a 5-minute recess here, just enough to get the students out of the room.
Have the mayor sign it.
Want to sign?
The mayor will sign it.
This is the
The
agreement.
mayor will sign it.
Is that Mike's daughter?
That's what he was idea.
Yeah.
Come on, girls.
We're at 9 o'clock.
Thank you.
And at this time, gentlemen, I appreciate your patience. Could we please have a safe speed red light camera make a presentation on the board?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Chris.
So, Mayor, just to recap, so this is the second of 3, so we have one more coming to us in the next week or two?
No.
It should be 4.
In fact, I'll review that for you right now. We actually, right now, there's 85 suburbs that participate in red light camera programs. Currently, well, let's put it this way. Our old vendor, years ago, before we adopted GATSO, was Redflex, red light camera. We have a current contract with Gatso red light camera. A couple of weeks ago, we had a presentation by
Red Speed?
ATS.
ATS, I'm sorry.
Was in there. It was, and then we were supposed to have a presentation by Red Speed and then Safe Speed, because there's only 5 companies. Chief, Red Speed call you. What did they tell you?
They declined to come out. They felt they couldn't adequately portray their company in 20 minutes. They were out last time we went out for presentations, whatever it was, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. So they had presented at that time as well. So they just didn't feel they could portray themselves in 20.
Did we give a 15-minute limit to all these people?
It's not just a limit. You know, they've had adequate time to come out and make a presentation to us and so forth then, too. And I believe, Trustee, when we had even ATS here, the board asked them to shorten up their presentation to do what they had to do, and they came out, and we did consolidate that presentation. The chief has reached out to, I believe, Red Speed a couple of times, Chief, and I don't think they were real receptive every time you called them?
It took a while initially to get a hold of them, but at that point they had agreed to come out. When I called them to let them know how long their presentation was supposed to be based upon what happened with ATS, they called me back and declined to come out. So that is what it is.
All right, nobody from the board suggested ATS shorten their...
I believe we did, and you need to go back and look at the film, because the board was the one that asked them to consolidate that while they were here.
I mean, I asked you guys to state it. I mean, I asked you, of course. It's your meeting, sir, because I want them to have as much time as they need. But, I mean, if we've got reputable companies, and it was another trustee on this board that actually said that Red Speed was a very reputable company, that doesn't feel like they can, give their spiel in 15 minutes, I think we owe them more than 15 minutes. Absolutely. And what about the incumbent? When are they on the calendar?
I don't have any confidence in the incumbent, basically with Gatso, because I saw back in August when I saw the numbers diminishing as far as violations and the performance of their equipment. I identified that with the committee, with the board, rather, at the same time. The company in front of us this evening, SafeSpeed, was good enough to put up a test camera to see if those cameras were performing correctly, and it was actually brought to our attention on a 24-hour clock that our current provider, let's say at one intersection at 127th and Cicero, captured 10 violations, while the test camera from SafeSpeed captured 107.
Mayor, this is not right. We as a group, this is a board decision, and we as a group asked you to bring them all in. And nobody, as far as I know, nobody was part of the discussion to say kick the incumbent out or make anything 15 minutes. We had a discussion as a group to bring them all in. And the chief said, look, I don't want this to be, I don't know if you used the word sham, but you said, I don't have time to just, bring people in for the sake of bringing people in. And we said we wanted these people in to give an adequate presentation so we, as trustees, can make the decision.
Okay, I'm going to finish what I was saying. Just to make sure it wasn't a fluke, the chief placed the camera at 127th and Pulaski to double check, and again, the current vendor had 1 violation while SafeSpeed came up with 77. We had the police department confirm to see if those were good violations or not, and they confirmed they were. So we actually lost 170 violators in one day, that kind of thing, and a 24-hour clock. At that time, the board did not want to follow my recommendation that we change vendors at that time, which is to where we're at now. Now, I agree with you. I don't mind having vendors come in and make presentations to see who might be the best fit for our community. But when somebody calls up and says they don't want to make a presentation, I mean, what are we supposed to do? Make them? Like, if Red Speed doesn't want to come in, why are we forcing them to come in? No, they don't want our business.
Well, Mayor, you made this decision on your own. This is not fair to the board.
I didn't make any decision.
You said you decided. You said you decided that Gatso, if that's the incumbent, Gatso shouldn't be here. You said that a few minutes ago.
Okay, well, let me finish then, too. I also rely on the professional opinion of professional policemen who monitor these systems. And, gentlemen, I'm sorry, I have to defer to you, to both chiefs. How do you feel about the system, how it performs right now?
Well, the system currently is inadequate, and as soon as GATSO would be available would be March 12th to come out for a follow-up, which we originally scheduled with them.
So are they still on the schedule for March 12th?
Not as of noon today,
Why not?
Why not?
because we were asked to cancel them.
Who asked you to cancel?
The mayor.
I didn't know about the date, but I had no interest in bringing back a system that was underperforming.
This is the
Right.
trustees' decision. We have got to be part of this decision, Mayor.
Well, how's the board feel about that? You want to have GATSO come in, make a presentation?
Well,
We'll go by consensus here.
Being that they have, what, $250,000 worth of equipment, years of time invested, and I think they deserve at least the right to come in and defend their position.
Right. And that was what was said. They, when they came in to address the deficiencies, had said that the two personnel who were in charge of that program were no longer employed here, had given all's well status reports. So what was their responsibility to check when nobody said that there was any issues? I mean, it's tough for a vendor. If Safe Suite's our vendor and he says to me, hey, how's things going? I said, hey, 2 thumbs up. They're happy they're out the door off to someplace else. And my belief is, based on what GATSO had said, they felt the same thing. It just wasn't fair to them. So problem was brought out, and obviously their equipment worked better at that time. And I believe that GATSO came in and made remedies to it. Now, whether or not it's performing, I don't know if we've continued on with the statistical review.
Do you feel that equipment's still performing right?
They did make adjustments, and there was improvements, and then those had lapsed since then.
They've fallen off quite a bit. Where we would average usually, typically through the last 2 years, we're down 13.9% overall this year. And in the last few months, we're down quite a bit. In fact, we didn't even break 200 citations last month.
And is our traffic volumes the same? Is our accident?
Traffic volume's actually gone up according to IDA.
Okay, so average annual daily traffic has increased. How is our statistical analysis on accidents? Have they decreased as well?
Our accidents are holding, we had an uptick last year in accidents only by about 3%. But we've been very consistent since the implementation of red light cameras. They're within a few percentage each year.
Okay, excuse me, I'm sorry. We have Safe Speed here to present. I don't know why we're talking about the other vendor right now. We're wasting these gentlemen's time. If we have these kind of questions, we should have that vendor in to ask these questions.
The trustee asked the question about the others, and that's what we were addressing. So this wasn't...
No, we're just going, according to the ones that we have here in the village currently.
So we can certainly, because again, we can't talk as a group to violate the Open Meetings Act, so we can certainly re-invite, or we can reconfirm an appointment with the current people and go from there.
And I think if they can't make it March 12th, I mean, if we're giving them basically 6 days' notice, I think it's fair to give them a couple of weeks to get here, considering they're, Connecticut, is that what you said? Or
Massachusetts, right.
And then also for the other vendor as well, is
Red
if
Speed.
they were under the impression that it was a 15-minute presentation and they didn't feel it was their value to come out and spend only 15 minutes, and I apologize for wasting your gentleman's time.
I was just going to say the same thing. Go ahead, Chris,
And
please.
exactly, if you need more than 15, 20, 30 minutes, you take your time and get all the information to us, because this is the type of thing that we need to make an educated decision.
So just so we're clear, we're going to re-invite GATSO, give them the time they need, re-invite Red Speed, or let them know they have the maximum amount of time that they need to
Sure.
to present. Okay.
And maybe shoot out an apology for ATS, because I don't remember or recall anybody limiting their time. I'll go back and look at the tape. I don't believe it was me.
I'm telling you,
like I said, I don't remember anybody doing that, but you might want to extend out to them and
During
say,
that meeting, the board asked, everyone said they were familiar with the programs, and if they can consolidate his presentation a little bit, and he did so. Go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, thank you, board members, for having us here today, Mayor. My name is Chris Lai. I am the co-CEO of SafeSpeed. I have with me here Joe Bridges. He is the director of field engineers, formerly with Mead Electric. Some of you might have recognized he's been with them for 25 years. He's actually worked with all the vendors, and he's in his retirement decided to come join us. So feel free to ask him any questions because he has more knowledge on that. I prepared a presentation, and feel free to ask me questions as we go along. I think educating you is probably the best thing out there to know what's the difference and what it takes to run a successful program. So SafeSpeed is the only red light camera vendor that's actually based here in Chicago. We're U.S. based right in downtown Chicago. Everything is housed there. We put everything in-house. We specialized in small and medium-sized municipalities. Even though we're in Chicago, we do not do Chicago, and there's a purpose for that because of the way our model is designed. We have 25 communities that we do in Chicagoland, and a lot of them are your neighbors. Evergreen Park, Oak Lawn, Palos Hills, Crestwood, quite a few other ones, Madison. So we're very familiar with this. This is our home. We want to make sure the program is successful and that it's not like we're in another country or a town where we can just walk away. We ensure that the program is successful. So one of the things that we do is that we're the lowest cost turnkey solution provider. Okay, so when you do crunch the numbers, you'll see that there's an advantage in the way the business model is made. And also there's no cost upfront to the municipality. We cover all the costs from construction, traffic study, providing all the additional equipment to make sure that the program is a success. That's key. There's also a lot of protections if we want to get into the details as far as how the business operates, but the way we really think about it is that the business model protects you in that even when there's a downturn in the economy and pay rate, we want to make sure that the village is always getting the lion's share of the revenue and that you're never owing us money. Well, we've seen cases in other communities where the village actually owes money to the vendor perpetually. And a lot of the communities that I've mentioned have vendors that switch to us, a significant amount of them. And we'll go into detail on that in a little bit. The other thing is that our customer service, we're here. We're not Massachusetts. You can give me a 2-day notice and I'll be here. That's huge because uptime for our cameras are really high. We are actually monitoring. You don't have to know if the system's working well or not. We actually monitor and tell you if there's something wrong ahead of time, whether it be with the equipment, with perhaps a new personnel working, that there's some issues. So we monitor the equipment and the whole process along the way. So that things like arbitrary spikes in the system or perhaps a new officer is not trained properly, we would catch that and inform the police chief and say, hey, this is what we're noticing, and if you want to take action or not. So that's a huge thing. We because of the way the business model is done, we actually are very performance driven, very data driven. One of the things that we do when we come into the municipality is talk to the village, work with the chief and his staff to identify where are the locations that actually need these cameras. So we actually go into municipalities, do a full assessment, recommend removing certain cameras and actually implementing certain cameras. We've seen it in the past where other vendors just come in and just say, oh, you need a camera here and here, with no real reason why or due diligence needed. So we're very big on due diligence, making sure that it's data-driven. And a while back, there was almost like a land grab. Oh, I'll just put a camera. I got my town. I leave. I got to go to the next town. We were one client at a time, and we made sure that we covered the municipality as far as all the needs, safety needs. So that's for us. Data-driven and priority for us is safety. The other thing is the technology. Every intersection is a little different, and we have the most flexibility in our technology in that the way it is constructed and installed. What we see a lot of times is that because you have bigger companies, we're not the biggest company, but we definitely think we're the best company. They might have thousands of intersections that they're monitoring, and their equipment is just like they put it there and hopefully can monitor all the lanes.
Very true,
Yeah. So you want that?
Yeah, well, SafeSpeed builds their systems individually for each corner. That's what I've noticed. I've installed all of their competitor stuff over the last 10 years. Nearly every installation in northeastern Illinois I've been part of. They design and build them specifically for each corner, whereas some of the other companies put up the same camera, comes out of a box, they put it up, they hope it works. Some corners it does work a little better than others depending on how wide it is. So that is a big difference with SafeSpeed. They build their stuff for each installation.
So you put this equipment up as who?
Mead Electric.
So you said you're a complete turnkey, so actually you do use third parties to install and maintain your equipment then?
Well,
so you're not a complete...
No, not at all.
This is for Mr. Lay. This is for Mr. Lay. So you said you're a complete turnkey. A complete turnkey does it all, so you don't maintain your own cameras then?
No, we do maintain our own cameras, but installing it, we work with vendors that are approved by IDOT, like Mead Electric, exclusively with them.
So you have third-party people that
yes,
work
but
on
when it
Okay.
comes to maintenance, we take care of the maintenance. We have our own engineers that come out to the site, review it. We have our own people to do the call center. We have our own IT people to do the software. None of that cost is on you, so it is turnkey. In fact, that we take care of from A to Z. And we've worked very closely with Mead Electric to make sure that it streamline the process. Instead of going out to bid to different vendors every single time to do the actual construction portion of it, we use Christopher Burke consistently. So we've kind of built our kind of A-team to make sure that it's always consistent and always works. But when we say turnkey solution, it's nothing that you have to do on your end. But almost everything is in-house.
Okay. And to be clear on that, too, Mead is a licensed, or you're a certified contractor with IDOT, is who you are.
Well, I was up until about 2 months ago,
Okay.
yes.
But I know Mead has the contract for all the streetlights because they have a state contract with them.
Yeah, they maintain everything in IDOT District 1.
Exactly. All right.
Street lights, traffic signals, everything for District 1.
So that's what I want to get across. Is it's just not farming
I
out.
don't have a
You have to
problem.
have a
I know
qualified
Mead.
installer.
I know Mead Electric. I have no problem with that. I just wanted to be clarified full turnkey. That's all.
So yeah, so some of the challenge with these intersections that we've seen before, and actually at the one of your biggest intersection here on 127 and Cicero, is that it's really big, and you have semi trucks, and there are a lot of places where there isn't enough coverage. They're only monitoring X number of lanes, or they're not configuring the cameras enough so that they can have the coverage and capture the violations. In some instances where a lot of vendors have said it's not possible, we've done it. In Berwyn, we've been able to do that. In Madison, we've been able to do that. Even places in Oak Lawn where other vendors said it's not possible. We would actually go out there. I actually personally go out there sometimes to troubleshoot and figure out why is it other vendors saying it's not possible to put up a camera. So we engineer each one individually to make sure we have full coverage so that we're covering all the lanes, because sometimes they're missing the left turn lanes. And we're like, well, that's not enforcing, that's not a, you're not enforcing the intersection if you're skipping the left turn lanes, because a lot of the other competitors' cameras can do 4 lanes, and that's it. And you have to make your decision, well, which 4 lanes do you want to cover? In the way we do it is whatever it takes. If it takes additional camera, if it takes additional engineering, more poles, we will do it to make sure we cover all the lanes at the same cost. There's no additional cost to you to do that.
So do you analyze crash data how do you determine 4 lanes? But say
No, I'm saying other competitors will ask you to pick which 4 lanes you want to monitor. We cover all the lanes.
Is it necessary to cover all 4 lanes? I mean, are we crash driven here, or
yes, it is crash. It's very crash driven. But so, for instance, you have to make a decision now enforcing. Oh, I only want to enforce. We think it's better to monitor and enforce all the lanes versus having to be forced to decide, well, which one, and then miss out on those enforcements for
What
lanes.
are we missing out on? We're missing out on revenue then, or are we missing out on stopping a crash? So what are we missing out on?
Well, it's all about changing driving behavior, right? So if you don't have enough If you're not capturing and the system's not working, then you're basically not even having the system, and you're letting people go through and say, oh yeah, that camera's broken, it never catches us, we drive however we want to do. Versus if you know that the system's working, people are more careful, they're aware, and then they take precautions as they get to the intersection and drive appropriately.
So you see big decreases because you say that driving habits change. So say we had 30 accidents from a right turn lane, and because of the presence of the camera, it drops to 3. Do you then recommend to the community that they take the camera out?
So there are times it's not a cure, it's a treatment. We've seen that in Elk Grove, where when they decided to suspend and turn off the camera, that the crashes spiked up. So it's not like a cure. Having it there is like having a police officer where people go, oh wait, I better be careful as I get through here. People are interesting in that their behavior is based on what is there. People don't like the camera because they're being caught. They're violating something, they're breaking the law, and there's a camera there that's working and catching them. If it's not working, then they're just like, oh, I'll just do whatever I want to do that I normally do. So enforcement has to do with making sure that you're actually working and capturing it. Okay. It takes time to do that. But yes, that is our goal. When we look at an intersection, we try to make sure that we can effectively try to reduce it by 20%. That is our goal when we look at it. If we don't think we can do it, we typically tell the village to recommend either not doing it at all, or we'll analyze and say, well, there is really no danger, no need to actually do remove that camera. So there are times where when a vendor has approved and installed one, we'd ask them to actually remove it. So it is not always about the money. We do drive with safety first. It's very data driven. We spend a lot of time talking about doing studies to figure out what kind of accidents are here. Are there a lot of red light violations? Are people a lot of near misses? Was there a fatality? And we'll take steps to try to remedy that. But like anything, if you're not enforcing it, then people just kind of take it as they don't take it seriously. Well, also moving forward, besides the camera, to make a successful program, we also look at all the ancillary equipment that we also provide, like viewing kiosks, so that people can be able to view it easier if they go to the police station and have questions. They can view it. Payment kiosks to be able to expedite things. Also, we provide handheld systems so that people, when they're going to court, can check in and out quicker, so that they're not spending the whole time at court. A lot of people just haven't seen their violation, so we make it accessible in every form or fashion for people to be able to see their violation. We take in all the various payment forms, PayPal even, so for younger drivers. So that's really big on us as far as making sure there's technology. We were one of the first cameras to start using infrared flashes, so that there was no light pollution and allow drivers to, businesses to not actually be interfered by the visible flash. We've also, like I said, have a very robust monitoring system that actually monitors the health of the equipment and behavior, and if anything, it actually tries to heal itself. There's something wrong temperature-wise, sensor-wise, it actually reboots itself, the component, and just sees like, okay, well, I reboot myself, let me see what happens. And if it still persists after a few hours, then it goes and text message our field engineers. Our field engineers then can be remote into it or deployed within, here, like less than 30 minutes to get out here and check on the system. So that's the type of back-end system that we developed to really distinguish us and make the program a successful program. I also want to pull into attention that we're a 7-day operation, meaning there's always somebody at the office, accessible, reviewing, monitoring, and everything's in-house. We do use Mead for the initial construction, but when it comes to the response and maintenance of the equipment and checking on the health of it, we do that in-house. Those are really the big features as far as moving to us from a service and equipment standpoint. I mentioned before that everyone from the executives all the way down to the mail processors and reviewers and support staff are all here We employ, everybody, Illinois residents. We try to manufacture everything here in the U.S. It's really big for us, and just support our state. I do want to move towards the last page where we talk about our business model and why we do certain things. Do you have any other questions as far as some of the features that we do before we move on to this portion of it? So if there's any, we'll move towards this, that instead of, one of the biggest differentiators, instead of having a very large monthly fee, which you have now and ATS also has and several other companies, we have a very nominal fee which adds up to like $500 for a flat fee versus, almost some of them up to $5,000 a month. And this covers everything as far as all the reviewing, processing, and mailing. And what we do that's a little different, instead of charging like $6 for payment processing, we charge $40 for payment processing. And in effect, it kind of guarantees that no matter what happens as far as the number of violations dipping, that you're always going to get the lion's share of it. Versus the other way around, where your violations dip, but then your monthly fee is still really high, your majority of the revenue can actually go to the vendor. And now, what was an all purposes, you want to have a good program, but it's costing the village money, and especially if you're talking about any type of economic downturn that can happen. We've been through several already. It can really hurt you. And so even if you want to have a safety program, you might not be able to afford a safety program. With ours, it always protects you in that the system can pay for itself, and that you will have the lion's share. It's a lot more straightforward as far as from an accounting standpoint. Every month we reconcile, and if for whatever reason, if there was construction on the road and we had to shut down the cameras, we would waive that fee. A lot of times, one of the hidden things is that the fee rolls over. It'll say cost neutrality in your contract, but if you don't actually make enough, that negative rolls over. We've had a lot of times towns that experience that where they've not seen anything for like 7 years. And the vendor just keeps taking their first share of the revenue. So the model protects it. It allows the police to run the program that we want to run. They don't feel like, I'm being penalized if I dismiss this ticket because it costs us this much already in fees from the transaction charges. It's a flat fee that covers that, so they feel free to dismiss whatever they want to.
Per camera, or is that per municipality?
No. So the 500 per month is per approach. So it doesn't matter how many cameras or what we need to do to monitor that intersection. We will do whatever it takes to monitor that intersection. It's the same $500 fee.
I don't understand.
So if we're monitoring all 4 directions at 127th and Cicero, then this would be the 500 times 4.
So you have it would be 500 times 4 because it's per approach. But what happens is a lot of times is like you would require, like I know for a fact, ATS, you're paying per camera, and it can only monitor 4 lanes. So if you have 5 lanes or 6 lanes, and it's really wide, which a lot of times you do have because you have an island, they'll say, well, you need 2 cameras, and that'll be double the cost now for that one approach. We don't think that's fair, so we just charge you the same fee, the 500, and we will configure. We have to install more poles, cameras at different locations to capture different angles. We will do that, and it's still at that $500 fee.
So it's $500 per
approach.
camera?
Per approach.
Per approach, not camera. Yeah.
Plus 40% of our revenue.
Well, it's not 40%. It's a $40 payment processing fee.
Per violation.
Per paid violation.
$100 violation, which is 40%.
Yeah, well, also, it can go up to $200, and so we wouldn't charge $80. If it's a percentage, we charge $48 because there's another mailing. So it's not a percentage base, it's a fee base. So if you decide if they go to a hearing, and it's $200 at that point, and they say, oh, well, we'll give them hardship consideration and reduce it to $150, our fee would still be, the $48. Because we had additional service for payment processing. On 100, it's 40, and if you decide you want to lower it, because it's up to 100, if you decide you want to lower it to 75, it'd still be at 40. So it's not a percentage.
Where did the $8 come from?
So there's an $8 fee if it is a $200 ticket. That's not spelled in here, but it's spelled in the contract. That's the only additional thing that's scenario-based. And that's because we've done additional services that we want to recoup. We also handle, if you have a collection agency, we also work with various collection agencies, and we keep your records for you. So if you do decide to switch from one collection agency to another collection agency, that's really easy with us. They can't hold your data as hostage. We've seen that a lot of times. It's really hard to transfer from one to another. So
you feel that the way that you're presenting this, that this circumvents the state statute with regards to the cost of the system?
We're not really circumventing. We're following what they're saying as far as if you're meaning percentage-wise. Yes, it is not a percentage because if it was percentage, it would be a direct percentage.
It talks about or revenue generated by the system, and yet your payment processing is revenue generated by the system.
Yeah, so they also allow for a fee base for services, and that's a charge for services. Everything can be boiled down to a percentage. Even if GATSO, you can boil down to a percentage. What they don't want is they don't want a direct correlation percentage. As an example, if it's $200, then we would get 40%, then it would be $80. So as long as you're not a direct correlation of percentage, then you're fine. You're charging for a service fee. We charge that $500 as each individual $100 service fee, and then we charge a $40 fee for payment processing. Other vendors charge $6 for payment processing. We just happen to charge $40. But it's not a direct percentage.
But it doesn't talk percentage.
Yeah.
It says may not be based on the number of traffic citations issued.
Yeah,
or the revenue generated by the system. When you sit there and you talk about a payment, you're talking about a dollar amount for a paid citation. Revenue generated by the system.
Yes. And it's not. It's under a service fee. We feel very strongly that that's the case. Other vendors are similar in that they charge for, like RedSpeed charges for the payment processing, and they, like I said, they charge a different amount. GATSO actually charges for payment processing too. It's just a different amount. They charge for all the different service fees, very similar to RedSpeed. We just bundled it all together under a $100 flat fee, so it doesn't escalate.
Right.
So the way we structure it is no different than, say, GATSO's.
Well, I'm not saying GATSO was right either.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I didn't delve deep enough into it at that time, where I feel I made that mistake.
Yeah. No, we're very confident that we're in compliance with it and the way it was written. It's written to basically not have a percentage. And they say it very clearly above that it has to be fee-based on the services rendered or the value of the equipment, which is what we were doing. It's all fee-based, and it is not a direct percentage.
So it's not, when you have all of these things that are listed as free and you have competitors that list them, they just call it out all singly. You just package it all in the $40.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not really free. You just packaged it different.
Well, no. I mean, it's
sales brochure.
What they do is those other fees add up, right? And they actually add up more. There's more advantage. It's a better model to charge you $40 payment processing fee than to add them all up. So, for instance, let me give you an example of GATSO, right? You are paying right now for tickets as soon as they dismiss it. You're paying for tickets that never get paid. You're paying for tickets when people are calling them. You're paying for all these things. None of that gets rendered in our model. It only gets rendered when someone actually goes through a payment processing fee. The $500 covers all that. So there's a big difference in the way the model is done. And if you want to break down the counting, we can certainly do that.
Is that true, Chief? When we dismiss a ticket, we still pay it.
If it comes through their system to us and we reject it, we're still going to be charged that fee.
Hence, it's about safety, not about money.
So the village is actually being penalized if they dismiss right now. With ours, you don't. You have full discretion over it. And so what the $40 really performance-based is that someone has to not only has to be a real violation that's approved by the police officer, but the person who has the ticket has to say, yes, I did violate. It's clear. It's my car. I'm going to pay this. versus if it was a false positive, you still get charged. Same thing with Gatso, same thing with Red Speed. You get charged for that.
But isn't that remedied by the business rule the community sets up and the fact that there is a law enforcement officer who reviews each citation prior to its issuance?
But you still get charged for it. With the other vendors. With ours, no. With ours, everything's covered under the flat fees, and only when the police officer deems that it is a violation, decides to issue it, and then only when the ticket holder says, yeah, you're right, I did violate it, I will pay this, is when the fee actually happens at the payment level. And that's a huge advantage when you crunch down the numbers as far as fees go. Right now, that you're paying for every action, even if they mess up and sent too many and he had to dismiss that month, you're paying for that.
So you're saying that when a community service officer looks at the tickets or...
Not a CSO. Has to be a sworn police officer,
Okay.
active or retired from that community.
Okay, these tickets are issued, or the camera has an event or incident, whatever it's called. Somebody from our group a sworn police officer looks at it. And if you determine it's a false or whatever, you're saying we still get charged for it? Even though you dismissed it?
They're processing in their contract, they get charged for the processing of each.
But they didn't process it. They don't process it until you say yes or no, right?
They go through them first, through the system first, and they weed out emergency vehicles, funerals, all of that stuff. And once they feel that they have a violation, they send it to us. At that point, we're getting billed for that.
And how many, just say in the last 3 months or so, have been dismissed?
I rejected 5 today.
You rejected 5 today?
Just today? Okay.
We're going to be charged for those 5.
Yes, but it's either a violation or it's not. If I deem it's not a violation.
But we still get charged because it's not a violation. All right, I guess that's a question we have to ask in 2 weeks.
Because they deemed it a violation.
Certain thresholds. If it is so close where I don't think a human could react to a red light, I'm probably going to give the benefit of the doubt to the human. They just go by whatever the threshold is. So if I was standing at that intersection and I witnessed that event, if I would issue a ticket, that is the threshold that the police officer stands for. That's why you have a police officer look at every violation. So today, there's 5 instances where I felt that I don't think it would have been a fair ticket, so therefore I dismissed it.
Don't we, as a municipality, choose the, what did you just call it? The
business rule threshold.
The threshold, don't we?
We can recommend them, yes.
And they follow it, so they were breaking that threshold then, or?
It's 1/10 of a second is a threshold. And 1/10 of a second, believe it or not, on a moving car is a little bit of space. So that's where my judgment comes in.
Chris, this is Deputy Chief Schult. Hey.
Yes.
Okay.
My part. And so this is, a lot of trustees don't know this. That's why we talk about education. We want to educate you because other vendors, that's what's in your contract. And that's what the program is. And so not just the fact that you can get upside down and you're paying for things that we don't believe you should be paying for, should just be covered a flat cost. You might look at this as marketing, but really we try. That's why I really encourage you to ask as many questions as possible so you fully understand what you have now and what you would in switching to us. So not only do we make sure we capture all the violations because we're incentivized, like if you go with a big fee like $5,000 a month, well, they got their $5,000 a month. They have no incentive to make sure it works. There's actually less work if it's not functioning. And we've seen that happen in Skokie. They had ATS, and you can talk to their chief what happened over there. You know, they had basically a non-functioning camera for years, but they're all busy. They don't want to audit them, and then just collect their money every month. And they were about to abandon the program, actually. And we came in there, took over that camera with the one camera they had. Now they have 6 because they were very happy with our services and expanded the program. The board unanimously said, no, we need to expand it. If the program's working, it's preventing, accidents, especially along a jogging path that some of the trustees were running. And they're like, the cars almost hit me all the time. They're not paying attention. So not only do we are performance driven to make sure that it's capturing all the things it should be capturing, but it doesn't penalize the village for dismissing at their discretion what they don't want. We have the same thing as far as thresholds, but you want that human discretion to say, no, that you can't capture with all the sensors on the ground. And sometimes the sensors go bad. We use a lot of the same equipment. It's about maintaining them. When something goes wrong, we proactively go and change it. We've seen from other vendors where it will be down for weeks, sometimes months, because they're waiting for a part to ship and clear customs because it's coming from Germany. We have everything stocked here, so we can just go out and fix it. And if it's down, think about it. We don't really, where we make our money really is to make sure that there are good violations issued by the police and that people agree and pay for it. That's when we really get paid. So we are incentivized to make sure that only good violations are being made and captured and clear, that people agree to it. Because if they don't pay it, then we don't get paid. It's pretty simple.
Let's talk about liability. In a lost lawsuit, who takes on the liability, the village or the camera company, or is it shared?
A lot of the lawsuits have to do with how the program is run. We don't dictate how the program is run. We are just, we're basically a machine, right? We work with you to make sure that everything is being captured. You have discretion. If there's it just depends on the lawsuit, but a lot of the lawsuits that we've seen has to do with decisions that were made with the village or the city,
How many lawsuits has Safe, and I don't take any offense to this because I ask this of everybody, every company that comes in front of us, how many lawsuits has Safe Speed been a party to since 2007?
We have been named in one and it's been dismissed.
Just one?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
none pending right now?
I do not believe any of them involve us. There are probably some that are our clients, but none that are named by us.
So you're saying there's lawsuits pending against villages and towns and cities?
I believe there is probably one right now.
On the camera program.
There's question about the one that I can think of is probably the one in Crestwood, where they're questioning if the signage, not the camera, the signage, and whether it should have been approved or not by IDOT, and so that's in the middle of that.
So I don't want to talk too much about that lawsuit, but just I know that situation. So for every one of those tickets that's been issued for those millions of dollars, I think it's a $3.1 million lawsuit, you got 40% of that. If they are found guilty, do you return to the village that 40%?
No. There is a...
So the liability is 100% on the village.
There's an indemnity clause that we indemnify each other. If it's something that we did, then we would be on hook for it. But if it's something that had nothing to do with us, it's like a copy machine or a computer, like if there was something wrong with that versus the organization that was running the program and making decisions. So it just depends on the scenario. I mean, our contracts, and almost most contracts, even the current one you're in, they indemnify each other for each other's actions. We can't be responsible.
No scenario that Safe Speed ever pays the 40% back.
Yes, there is, if we did something wrong. If we did something wrong, then you're same thing. We indemnify you, you indemnify us. If it's something that was determined by us, then yes, it would be.
So when you put up these cameras, I mean, I know there's IDOT studies and things. I mean, how does, I don't want to talk about Crestwoods, but, how do things like, scenarios like that happen where a full study isn't done and, people can't see that, hey, a right turn here, this could be questionable. I mean, how do you guys, who are the experts on your side that work with the IDOT to say, all right, this is a troublesome intersection, but this is also one that could cause us some, court troubles as well. I mean, there's got to be some experts there, on your side there.
Well, we can't, unfortunately, we live in a nation where you can sue for anything. And you can lose, you'll probably lose if you sue for anything. You have to sue for for cause. We take every effort to make sure that the intersection is in compliance, and
compliance with what?
As far as the signal timing, we look at crash data, we look at the configuration, the UTMCD, I'm pronouncing that wrong, code as far as making sure that, well, you have LED upgraded lights, you have pedestrian crosswalk, you have the proper signage. And then, of course, there's IDOT who do their due diligence to make sure that, yes, that is correct. I work very closely with the village and Public Works if there's a history that we don't know about or things like that. So we do as much as we can, put best effort to make sure that that is it. We can't prevent someone from suing for a frivolous lawsuit. That happens all the time. But if it's something that we did, then we will take ownership of it. We're not going to shy away from that. But if it's something that is a decision or oversight by the city or administration, then they need to take responsibility for that. And that's what all contracts do that. We indemnify each other.
Is your company publicly traded?
No, it's not.
Who owns your company?
It's a privately held company. I am one of the owners.
You're the CEO?
I am the co-CEO.
Who is the other?
There's Nikki Zoller, who is the other co-CEO.
Nikki Zeller?
Mm-hmm.
In regards to like California stops, what do you have a certain speed or whatever that what's your tolerance for?
That is the discretion of the police department. We work with them, and they, like I said, they don't get penalized. If they want to dismiss it, they dismiss it. It's our job to make sure that it's being captured, all the ones that they deem and the parameters that they set forth, and then they can decide if they want to dismiss it or however they want to run it. That's not our call.
It's a radar-based.
It's a hybrid, actually. It uses electromagnetic sensors on the ground, and we also use radar-based system to ensure that it works, to make sure that we capture all the violations.
All right, just one more question, I guess. We keep hearing of this 24-hour study that you did.
Yes.
That hit the trustees by surprise because we didn't know nothing about it until it was presented to us. Did Red Speed use the same parameters as our current company?
Safe Speed.
I'm sorry, what did I just say?
You said Red Speed.
I'm sorry, my fault. Did you
So we did the study, and we provide the videos to the police department. We do that as a tool for any community. When they ask us, hey, can you just do this video study, and then we do it at our parameters, and we offer it to the police chief. Here are all the videos. You can watch all of them, and you can agree with 70% of them. You can agree with 80% of them, and then you can go do the information, whatever you want to do with it.
Okay, that really didn't answer.
So the question was, did you use our parameters or your own?
No, we use our own parameters, and then they can go through the data themselves. They can watch the videos themselves to verify if they agree or disagree. I guess that's what I'm saying. We use our parameters because we haven't worked in long enough to determine what parameters they wanted. So we use our default parameters, and then we found, the hundreds of violations. Got all the videos of those videos and time marked them, and then handed over to the police department and said, well, now you determine. Maybe you might only agree with 50 of them. Then go ahead and report those 50. Don't just take our word for it.
What is your relation to Triad Consulting?
Triad Consulting was something that I was also a partner of a long time ago.
And has no relationship to Safe Speed?
No, it's a separate company.
Okay.
How much has Safe Speed donated to Illinois' political parties?
I don't have that number, but I do know that we definitely want to support our legislative, educate them, show them what's best practice. Not every vendor agrees with our best practice. We want to make sure, because we're here, like I said before, we don't get to go to another state and ignore Illinois. We want to make sure that the laws that are being made and passed make sense, and that the legislators understand the program. As you can see, you've had programs here, a red light camera program for years, and not knowing all the information is key.
So how does money help that?
Huh?
How does money help that?
Well, no. Well, it's important them to make sure that, you know, we invest the time to educate them, make sure that they can get reelected and move the cause forward. So
Okay.
there's nothing illegal about doing that.
There's not.
So
I mean, the same can be said for garbage vendors, the same can be said for tax attorneys.
It was just a
lot
question,
of
man.
companies like
It was
that.
just a question. He answered it.
So it would make sense that your numbers are different from our current vendors' numbers if you're using a different parameter extension or less or whatever.
I agree, but then that's why we give the videos to the police, and they can say, oh, no, you only 10% what I would agree with.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that was the case. The case was much higher, so you're using your standards.
We had a different vendor in making a presentation, and they gave us, after a certain maturity period, their estimates of what they expected to give us as far as violations per camera per day. Do you have anything that you would like to give us as far as what your predictions for what your equipment would produce?
I don't typically like to give predictions on things. We do studies, and we can show you past data of what's happening at your intersection. Things can change quite a bit. You know, we can go through, like I said, economic downturn where people just stop driving because they don't have jobs anymore. Or you build a new, you know, commercial area that changes traffic, you know, or IDOT decides, oh, we're going to build a new, you know, on-ramp, off-ramp, and it changes traffic pattern. So a lot can change. But what I do say a lot of times is, you know, look at the data, you know, not just the ones that we provide, have the police verify on their standards. Why is there such a big discrepancy? You know, and are you getting your service? Well, we always talk about the fact that if red light camera vendors were like cell phone carriers, would you be happy in the fact that you found out I have to solve all these drop calls, and every time I call them up, they take, you know, weeks to get around to fixing it or answering us? Who would you go with? You know, we like to think that, you know, we're not the biggest, but we definitely are the best. And one of our key advantages is that the model makes sure that we're performance driven, and that it protects the municipality, and that we're here and we can react quickly. I don't know of any other company that has a monitoring system built in to monitor the behavior and traffic pattern to alert us and alert the police to know what's happening in that intersection.
The last vendor who made a presentation had given us recommendations on locations and approaches. If you had such time to provide anything like that.
So we do the opposite. Instead of telling you what the problem is, we would work with the police department and say, give us your list. This is your town. You know it the best. Where is the most accidents? And then we will start doing our due diligence on each one of those. So
That information hasn't been requested by you yet?
No, there's some. I mean, we could obviously do it if you request us to do more work. We could do it, so that's not an issue. But it's a collaborative effort to identify it. I've been certain towns where the chief's like, I don't know why they put that camera there. It's just there. I would prefer to have a camera here because of these accidents, this data. And I'm like, absolutely, let's dive into this and work and figure it out.
So crash data is public knowledge. I mean, it's not private. I mean, I'm not telling you how to do your business, but why wouldn't you be scrounging up all of this data, because you're a data-driven company, and identify towns and villages and intersections where these cameras should be and approach it that way? I mean, why would you wait for, I don't understand why you would wait for a community to come to you.
Well, we want to engage them. I mean, if you'd like us to do it, we could do it.
I'm just wondering why you're not doing it. I mean,
the information is there. It's on our website, but we haven't engaged with him yet, so he's not going to task our police department with anything in the meantime.
That's kind of, you know, I mean, it's almost me going there and saying, look, I analyzed all your intersections for you. Now, if they've done that, that's great. They were proactive. We certainly can do that to analyze all your intersections if you like. We wouldn't mind doing that.
Okay, Chris. So here, obviously, you've heard our dirty laundry here. We have a problem with our current camera, or per se, supposedly, we have a problem. We wouldn't just obviously make a change just based on, a sales presentation, which,
absolutely,
which this is. So, you would, as we approach that, time to either re-up or change. I mean, how quickly, do you perform these studies and put a camera in place and give us this analysis that we need?
We can do that within a few weeks, depending on the scope of it. We can do an initial one, just pull quick crash data. But if you want, we try to do thorough. We try to do a whole video study. We also try to get all the ancillary things that don't get captured by data, right? For instance, just dangerous driving behavior, or a fatality, like that there was, that could just, it was a number, but we want to know the story behind it, and so interfacing and having time to talk versus just like, oh, look, I just looked at these numbers and then here you go, here, based on this only. When we say data-driven, we do look at the numbers, but we also look at the story behind it of what some of the problems. And we try to see if we can help prevent some of that if need be. There's been places where we recommend having where we went to IDOT and said, well, listen, they just really need a no-turn red sign. They don't need a camera. We'll put that up first, and we'll see how that worked out for them. And then if there's still a problem, then we'll put a camera there. So everything is custom. We don't try to rush through it. We like sitting and interfacing with the client and making sure we do it correctly. So it is not because we don't want to do the work. We've already done work, putting cameras up, mounting it, recording it, reviewing it, giving you to at no cost. That's a lot of effort on our part to do that. So I don't want you to think that we're not interested. We just don't want to make the assumption like, well, here's all the intersections, and that we know everything. We have engineers on staff in-house to do a lot of the work for us, but we also rely on the village, for, like I said, for supplemental data. A lot of the IDOT crashes, the way they report, it's not completely accurate. You actually have to read the crash data behind it and see if there was anything written. So, there's more to it, and, we can dive into it all night, but, so.
Okay.
I see there's 4 towns, municipalities that you currently reside in, and 4 of those municipalities have a second vendor in as well. Is that a normal practice? They have more than one vendor in town?
Yes, some, I wouldn't say normal, but some municipalities have 2 because they're still in contract. They can't break it, so they're kind of stuck with the vendor. Just several. I mean, Oaklawn still has Red Speed. They're still in a contract. They has expired. They can't get out of it. Our contract, if you don't like our services, you give us, I believe, just 30-day notice, and then we can start removing the cameras.
30 days.
Yeah. So you're not tied. So that's another thing that people like about the fact is, like, yes, I signed this now, like with GATSO or Red Speed or ATS, it's ironclad. You can't get out of that. You can't switch midway because you're not happy. You're just stuck.
Chief, would that be a problem if there was more than one camera company in town?
Makes it confusing.
Okay.
That's up to you. It's just a matter of systems. It's just 2 systems that we got to log into, or Sean has to log into.
And take care of it at the hearings, and take care of it for payments.
Right. Yeah, there's
logistics.
A lot of hands in that.
I gave it to Roger.
I do like the idea, though, Chris, which and again, all these meetings are taped. And what, again, real quick, is the difference between a $100 violation and a $200 violation, just so people understand?
Yeah, so a $100 violation payment processing fee would be $40, and a $200 violation, the payment processing fee would be $48.
But what kind of violation would become a $200 fine?
If they don't pay within the parameters that were set in your ordinance, typically it's, after 30 days, they don't pay, then the fine doubles.
I just wanted that for the record.
So the fine doubles, but the payment for the fine only goes up another $8.
Yes.
And that's why I wanted to be very clear so everybody understood. That's why it's not percentage based.
No.
That's why it's still only $40. Whereas if folks don't want to pay that when they're supposed to, unfortunately the violator, their number goes up. Ours does not, nor does yours. I'm sorry, yours does not.
Yeah.
Right.
Ours does not.
The other thing I like about what you're presenting to us too, and you already brought this up, for many companies that are charging flat rates, where we almost have to establish a line item just to support a flat rate, there's no motivation there for them to capture
No, there isn't.
violations, and again, in all fairness to the trustees, what I said before was, I saw a system that was what I believe is failing, and we actually had a vendor come in and as much admit that too. When you go into a program, what SafeSpeed is recommending is, we're not paying all those capture fees and whatnot then too. The work speaks for itself, and we're only collecting any revenue that's generated from those is just upon payment of the violation. That's it.
Correct.
So nobody's chasing anybody. Nobody's promoting this. Chris, is this correct too? I was reading up on this a couple of weeks ago. When Skokie switched over to SafeSpeed, and they had this in a paper, I just want to make sure if this is accurate or not. Skokie says it approves 95% of what SafeSpeed suggests because Skokie had worked out something with SafeSpeed, not to send violations that may be in a gray area. Whereas, like you said, if we told Deputy Chief Schultz that, let's say 1.2% of right-hand turns are only account for accidents and stuff, and if we wanted to give him a larger gray area on right-hand turns, that's totally up to us, and there's no charge on that and so forth.
It's totally up to you. There's no charge.
That's all I'm getting at.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, it's your program. We just administer it and make sure that it's working 100% of the time, or 99.9% of the time, and it's up to their discretion of what they want to do with it.
That's all I was pointing out, because obviously what it was pointing out, there are some towns that are 99.9% of everything that comes through, and they have, like, as Deputy Chief Schultz said, there's like zero tolerance on some guy. That's all up to us, but we're paying for this thing regardless right now, where we wouldn't be with this program.
Of the 4 municipalities that you're showing as pending to be installed this year, any timeline on those?
Yeah.
You have Chicago Heights, Evergreen, Glendale Heights, and Richton Park. And
So-
3 of those 4 are new,
Yeah.
not transfers, for lack of a better way of putting it.
So I want to go over this. Chicago Heights, they have cameras. We're adding additional cameras to it. Not Chicago Heights. I'm sorry. Where is it? I'm sorry. Yeah, Chicago Heights. We're adding additional cameras to it. Evergreen Park, we're under construction, I believe.
Yeah, we've begun. Yeah.
Yeah. So
We started 87th and Kedzie construction 2 weeks ago, and next week 95th and Western will begin.
And are those the only 2 intersections that they are having you install at?
Yes.
Okay, so then will the system, generally speaking, become live once all cameras are installed, or do you roll it as the cameras are done?
No, it would be per intersection.
Okay. In Glendale Heights?
They are active already, so this is a little outdated.
And
then,
Richton Park?
I believe we're shooting. It's active. Yeah, it's already active too now.
Okay.
So that's pretty recent.
Trustees, any other questions? About this side, anybody?
No.
Chris, I really appreciate, gentlemen, really all your patience tonight. I know we can have a long meeting, especially for the audience as well, though, too. This is really important to us, and it does represent, some ideas in contrast of what we've been used to. So, I mean, obviously, that's why there's a lot of digest going on here then, too.
Yeah, no, we're firm. Thank you for having us, and we're a firm believer. The more you know, the better decision you can make. So, thank you very much.
Very good. No, thank you.
Thank you.
That said, Board, can I get a motion?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, folks.
Meeting adjourned at 10:03 p.m.
Can I hate